All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Texas Leadership Network Mastermind Group for June. It's June 10th, and I'm super excited about those of you who are brand new to our mastermind, and for those of you who are repeating and coming back to see us, whether you're watching us live or on recording. We do come to you live every month on the second Thursday from 12 to 1. So we hope that you'll spend your lunch hour with us every month. For those of you who are new to the mastermind group, it really is about peer mentoring and less about coaching. Although we have a lot of coaches on the line with us, we all are learning from each other, especially our business owners. So in a mastermind group, it really benefits you if you attend on a regular basis. So we would love to see all of your beautiful your faces every month. And it really does help you hold yourself accountable, or you grab a goal buddy and they can help hold you accountable from this group. And it also helps you meet your goals as you go through this. So basics, there are no dumb questions, there are no dumb answers. We're all here to share and learn from each other. So be respectful of those who are speaking, and we would like to hear from everyone on your ideas, particularly on the topic that we're presenting today. So the benefits are sharing, accountability, and of course, networking. So be sure and use the chat window to share your contact information so that people can connect with you outside of the mastermind group, and maybe even ask you to be an accountability partner for them. So meet the coaches. These are all of the coaches that make up our Texas Leadership Network. We are all over Texas. Some of us are even outside of Texas still, trying to get here as fast as they can. But we wanted to bring all of their names and locations to you so that you're aware of how big this team is. So at this point, I am going to shut my show down, and I'm going to let the man of the hour take over, Mr. Mark Steele. We're really excited to hear your presentation today. So you'll do the presentation and then we'll have a chat afterwards. So it is all yours, my friend.
Well, very good. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. And today I'd like to cover something you've probably or may have heard about, and we're going to go into more depth today, and that's talking about victor victim. And what I'm asking everyone to do, we're going to make this very interactive, and I'll be asking you questions along the way, and to think about, kind of look at yourself and look at others from the balcony, and to see if you could see the victor and the victim. And we're going to start off, let's start off with the victim here. And we call the victim, could be called Mr. Benz. And what that is, first of all, someone who is a victim, a couple things they really like to do. First of all, they're going to blame everyone else except themselves. And they make excuses. The victims, they're victims, and there's always an excuse. In fact, Brian Tracy calls it excusitis, the inflammation of the excuse-making gland, which is a pandemic that's been around for thousands of years. So what I'd like to do is just ask the group right now, what are some of the effects on business when you have someone who is always blaming someone else and making excuses? I could open that up to the group, please. What are your thoughts?
Things don't get done. It just kind of grinds to a halt.
Yes.
You have low morale, amongst the team members.
Low morale, things don't get done. Excellent. What comes to your mind if you think of what pops in your mind when you think of something where nothing's getting done, everyone's pointing the finger? At least for me, it's politics. If you just look at Washington, nothing's getting done right now because it's not my fault, it's someone else's fault. And they always come up with excuses. Well, it's the economy, it's COVID, it's this and it's that. So great answers. And so something else that a victim does, they're going to be very negative. And in fact, I call the negative folks energy vampires, just suck the life right out of you. You could think of Eeyore, who comes in a room. It's not just the way they talk, it's the way they look, it's their nonverbal communication. And I'd like to ask the group this, how do you deal with these energy vampires, people who are so negative?
Run away from them.
Run away, yeah. Yes, get out your, what are the vampires that garlic and get the cross and stay away from me. Okay, great. No, that's true. Get away from them. Can you convert them?
Maybe.
Takes a lot of
Maybe.
energy.
Maybe.
I've tried in the past, and I think that what I've done is for energy vampires is to be more of an energy vampire towards them, and basically flip it on them and say, hey, you know, I've got it worse than you.
Oh, is that right?
And that way it shows them the positive side of things.
But
That's an
you
interesting
know,
way.
in my experience, you can waste an awful lot of time and an awful lot of money trying to convert a vampire that's you just be better off moving on from.
Yes, yeah, and I kind of I agree with everything that's being said there. You can convert, you may be able to, but it's hard. I agree with the runaway. Just kind of stay away from them. Because how does that go? You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. You don't want that bringing your average down. So I think most of the time it is best to get away. And if you can show them how their negative talk, their negative attitude is affecting, they may be able to change. It could be worth a try, but don't spend too much time spinning your wheels. Don't let them drag you down in the gutter there. Something else that a victim would do, first of all, they go through a state of denial and scarcity. First of all, they're going to deny that anything's working. Whoops. Let me back up just a little bit. So if we look at scarcity, oh, I'm sorry, I'm covering up my scarcity here. Oh, I didn't leave enough time. So anyhow, denial and scarcity. And that said, what do you think is meant when I say scarcity?
Enough isn't enough, or good enough is never enough.
Good enough is never. Mm-hmm.
Well, Mark, what I also think of is a zero-sum game, where by definition, if I'm winning, you're losing. Instead of an abundance mentality where we both can win if we both work together to achieve what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, I like that. There's always has to be a winner. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. It can never be win-win with Mr. Benz here, with a victim. And so who do they want to win? They're going to make sure they're going to be the winners or do everything they can. Okay.
Yeah, and Mark, if teamwork is important to this group, it'll be very, very difficult to accomplish with this kind of a mindset on your team.
Yes. No, that's great. Great point. And let's look at the other side, flip side of the coin. And before we go there, if I could just ask, does anyone hang around on that victim side? Has anyone ever been there on the victim side?
Yes. I have visited there occasionally.
Yeah. We all, I'm sure, have paid a quick visit at one time or another, and hopefully it was just a quick visit in and out. And that's the whole purpose of this. Once again, looking at ourselves from the balcony and to see how much of the time are we spending on the negative side. And now we're going to the other side, the victor side. And it's not just for us, but to think about the folks around us, our colleagues, our coworkers, our family members, and to see which side of the fence are they on, the victor or victim. Now let's talk about the victor. And we say a victor has nothing to prove. And the victor, we talked about the victim being very negative. The victor is very positive. And everything is sunny and bright. And what does that do to a business when you have someone who's so positive?
That becomes a good virus.
A good virus, yeah, absolutely. It is, and it is contagious. It's very contagious. I've had people call my business before. This is in a past business life, and they would say, we like to call you guys, first of all, because of your tone of voice. You answer the phone, you're peppy, you're cheery, and I'd rather do business with that. When we call the other guys, it's like the Eeyore, what can we do to help? And people don't like to deal with the negative attitudes like that. They want it to be good, positive, and want it to be contagious. And next, another couple other attributes of the victor. Victors are responsible and they take ownership for everything they do. And with that, Brian Tracy always talks about laws of the universe. A couple of the laws that come into play here are the law of accountability and really the law of control. And you're happy to the extent that you have control of the situation. And it looks like someone else is coming in. And next we have the victor has vision. And let's stop it right there. What does that mean? How can you be victorious? What does vision mean there?
Looking forward.
Looking forward? Yes. And why is that important to look forward?
So you can see opportunities in front of you.
Yes. And does it help to know where you're going as well?
Yep.
See opportunities, know where you're going. Okay, great. All right. And does anyone want to take a guess at what the E is with the victor? We have positive, responsible, they take ownership, they have vision. And they always strive for excellence. If you think about our business, how do you continually strive for this excellence? Is excellence something you could track?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Can you follow that through, Chris? How do you track excellence?
Because first of all, I have to define what it means to me as a business owner. And then once I've defined it, I can start setting metrics around it, specifically KPIs and KRIs, to determine that I am achieving what my standard of excellence is. When I talk about the values of my company, I only have one. It is a commitment to excellence. So I have to be sure that everything that goes out with my name on it lives up to my standard of excellence.
Okay, great. Is excellence objective or subjective?
It's a little bit of both. It's subjective in the fact that every person has to define their level of excellence for themselves. But then once we've done that, we can make sure that the work product that's being put out is objective in its nature. And so it's a little bit of both. It's kind of a weird little deal. Okay,
great. Can pride come into play with excellence? Personal pride?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I have to feel like, so here's an example of something that just happened to me. I was asked by a referral to do a side project that I would have made somewhere around $5,000 just in pure profit on, to do this work. I turned it down, and I turned it down not because I was happy about leaving the money on the table, but because I couldn't devote the time, the energy, and the effort to put into this that I would have been proud to put my name on it. It'd have been okay. The business owner could have used it, but it wouldn't have met my standards of excellent work. I would not have been proud to have my name on it.
Well, that's a great point. Let's play with that a little bit. How many businesses do you know where they put their name on the product?
Well, everyone at some point.
Yes. And where I'm going with this, I worked in plastic distribution before. And so we packaged every skid and always had a cover sheet, and someone would sign their name, is inspected, and it was controlled by, and you put your personal name. And I think we've all bought clothing before from Inspector 52. Well, Inspector 52, that's great. That does show some accountability and shows that there is some traceability. It even goes a step further when you have someone's name to it. And good. Well, welcome, Marcia. I see you came on the call. We're glad to have you here. Okay, next. The one thing, so we have these two people. We have the victors and we have the victims. And another way to say that is the victors, they're winners. These are the people you want to be around. They're fun to be around. We all like to be part of a winning team. You know, whether you like them or hate them, well, this up till last year, the New England Patriots, they were winners. And those guys had a lot more fun than the teams that were just struggling to get a victory. Okay, and if our victors are the winners, what do you think our victims are? Thoughts?
Losers.
Yeah, they could be losers, and you're absolutely right. They are losers, but just keeping in the theme of the W's, we're going to go winners and whiners. So, have you ever had a whiner in your company or in your midst?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, how do you deal with these whiners? We talked a little bit about the energy vampires just sucking the life out of you. What do you do with whiners?
You're trying to minimize their
I hope
influence.
So minimize their what? Their gripes?
Their influence.
Minimize their influence. And how would you do that?
By shedding more light on the situation and kind of dwarfing that negativity, right?
Okay, great. Excellent. I like it. Can you give me an example of when that's happened in your history?
Yeah, I've had employees like that all over the world. So one is to build relationships with them and kind of bring them along to the team, and then and slowly bring them into an accountability type relationship. So they realize they add value, and you start sharing with them the positivity that they bring to the team, as opposed to allowing them to, you know, expound upon the negative aspects of the glass is always half empty. So it's a process. It's not an overnight deal. It takes a lot of work and a lot of energy, but again, the benefits are fantastic for the team once you get rid of the whiners and bring them above the line to the winning category. So that's kind of what I've done.
Okay, excellent. And there is a threat if you have a team full of whiners, because what's going to happen if everything's negative and everyone's whining, now all of a sudden your best people, they're going to start to leave. They don't want to be in that environment. They don't have to be in that environment. They can go anywhere and do anything. So if you don't deal with the whiners, you're going to have real issues with your winners.
Fact.
Okay. And
Well, and Troy said that the magical word. It was accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no quicker way to turn a whiner from a whiner to a winner than when you start holding them accountable and start not accepting their excuses.
Well, isn't that so true? You think about, if you're the manager, you're the leader, you have the whiners, they're going to come in, they're going to try to throw the monkey on your back. You know, this is awful and you got to do this. And so now you got the monkey on your back, and it's always great to just throw that monkey back. Well, that's an excellent point. Why don't you take care of it? And it's amazing how quickly that tune can change when all of a sudden responsibility, the accountability is back on their shoulders. So fantastic point. Thank you. And so the winners, they're really opportunity seekers. They're always looking to get better. They're striving to get better. And for the whiners, well, we call them the failure magnets. And it's another way of saying you're the failure vampire, just suck away all the energy.
And Mark, if
yes.
I could add, you know, to what you said about, you know, the victors is, you know, the other thing is that, you know, they're learners. You know, as I work with business owners all over the place, you know, that I really find myself really passionate about working with those business owners or C-suite executives that have a passion to learn, to grow, to change, to adapt. Again, they're in the, I like working with folks above the line, Mark, less of my energy below the line, but you know, I love that because I would also say they're learners. I mean, and they're willing to raise their hand and go, you know, Mark, I need some help here. You know, I'm an expert in this area, but I don't know, I don't have a lot of knowledge in that lane. Can you help me? I love that attitude.
That is fantastic. And that is so true. And as you're saying that, I'm going to change my background, because what I always like to look for, people who are hungry. And in fact, hangry. Find those ones that are hangry.
I like that.
Because if they're not hangry or anxious to get better, things aren't going to change. So
Only problem,
thank you for.
you're making me hungry with that. That's the only issue with that. Sorry.
Well, if I could get you back on track here, you know, that goes with the mother principle. Would you do or say what you're about to do if your mother were looking over your shoulder? So anyhow, enough of the background. So we'll get back on topic here. And so talking about the victims who they're negative, they're the whiners. And we talked before about the law of control, how you're comfortable, you're happy to the degree that you're in control. And these failure magnets, have you ever noticed how the bad stuff always seems to happen to them? You know, the failure just follows them around. And then there's the law of attraction. And that's where that comes into play, is they think negative and negative things keep happening time after time. And man, when am I going to get out of this? And so if you have that negative attitude, the law of attraction, it's hard to get out. You're stuck in that rut unless you can just push yourself out to get on the positive side. Well, really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Victor, victim. Can I just throw it up to the group and add some other thoughts that you have along these lines?
Well, you had asked.
Go
Go
ahead, Dennis. I was just going to say, somebody had mentioned earlier when you asked, you know, do you live above the line or below the line? And a couple of people said, well, sometimes below the line, right? And I think that there's this mindset that you have to have, know that you're going below the line, know that you're down there, and know what the triggers are, right, that pull you down, and also the triggers that pull you back up. So I think that that's something that's really important. We should all take away from this conversation is, do we all go below the line every once in a while? Yeah. And if you say you don't, you're probably not telling the truth, because we all find ourselves there sometimes, but it's knowing the triggers, right? And also knowing how to pull yourself back up above the line. I think that's very important.
I think that's great. Okay, can you give us an example of the triggers you're talking about? Oh, Tricia, can you give me an example of the triggers you see?
Yeah, so for me, the things that pull me below the line is when I'm not in control. Everyone laugh. If they're, because it, and I'm teasing, but it's truth, right? When things are not going my way, that will absolutely pull me below the line. So I have to know that it's okay when I'm not in control, right? It's okay to allow things to happen, but don't stay below the line. Just move on, right? So that it's definitely, yeah, if somebody puts me off track, then I definitely go below the line.
And I have to ask, because Dennis is on here too, you have a tag team there. Do you help each other out? And if everyone else think about your spouses or your kids or whomever you're with, are they able to help you up, you know, give you a hand to get up?
I think that's been key in our collective success. Fortunately, and we'll say this often, you know, fortunately, the both of us don't end up below the line at the same time. There's typically one that'll recognize. There's typically one that'll recognize that one or the other is below the line, and you know, consciously says, "Hey, is this where you want to be?" And you know, when you were talking before about, you know, the whiners and what do you do to those folks and with those folks, a lot of times it's just it's showing them that there's another way, right? Showing them that there is an answer. I mean, typically when you go below the line and you end up in that whine mode, or even your persistent whiners, somehow they, you know, that's a coping mechanism, and they don't see a way through. It's not that they're intentionally trying to be negative. I mean, I don't believe that anybody shows up to their place of work, their place of business, into a relationship saying, I'm going to really destroy everything around me and make everyone miserable. As you said, there's a trigger there, and they don't know how to break through. And so by, you know, just even pointing it out, it may flip that little, whatever it is in their brain, it may connect that synapse that says, well, actually, I do have a solution, or actually there is a way through, or maybe I should ask for help and get that lift to come back above the line. But the original question, that's been key. And fortunately, we don't both go below the line at the same time normally. And so there's usually one that's like, hey, you know, knock it off.
That's a great point. And we talk about having things to break the pattern. And I'm thinking last night, my daughter was on the line, and she was speaking to my wife, and she was doing a lot of whining and complaining. And then she got another call, and the tone totally changed. Oh, hello? Have you ever been really angry and you could even be yelling at someone when you're really frustrated, then something breaks that pattern? Oh, hi, how are you? It's nice to see you. And so some couples, you could even have a word to break the pattern, something crazy like pineapple, bananas, or whatever. Just, oh, okay, I didn't know I was going there. I didn't know I was falling on the deep side. So does anyone do anything like that?
Yeah, I was going to share one thing. I've got an accountability partner. He's a buddy of mine from church. We're really close. We serve together in church and we hunt together. You name it. And sometimes we're that way and we don't even realize it. You need that accountability. I think Chris mentioned it earlier, is that, when I'm venting sometimes to him, and he's a business owner himself as well. And he'll say, yeah, Troy, but what about this? And I'll go, oh yeah. Okay. All right. Didn't think about that. I needed that. I didn't want to hear that, but now that you said it, I get it. So sometimes it's that accountability partner, whether that be in your faith or your workplace or your spouse. My spouse definitely is the yin and yang for me as well. So to keep you leveled out. And sometimes you just need that little tug that says, hey, really? What's up with that? You need that. And I go, oh yeah. Okay. All right. Got it. I'm back above the line.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
Excellent.
good point. And, Dave's on this call. And Dave and I have done that with each other. I know we've, we allow each other to vent. So if he's having a bad day or whatever, he can call or email and he'll just, go to town. Right. And then, do you feel better? All right, let's get back above the line. And it's his line of, I never remember the above the line, below the line, but he always, okay, let's go back above the line, and we go back about our business. So I think it's key to have someone like that. And that's, as a coach, that's what we do for our clients. And I think it's key.
Or how can your physiology come into play, whether you're a winner or a whiner? Because when you think whiner, no, everything's horrible. What's your physiology doing, and can it help you take you to the other level?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a TED talk. I can't remember the lady's name, but she talks about power poses, right?
Right.
And just the physiological pose of spreading out and standing tall and putting your shoulders back and taking deep breaths. That is sometimes enough to get yourself above that line and start, getting more confident and being more positive and taking action, as opposed to sitting down and being hunched over and having the bends, right? As to your graphics, that the body language is what 70-80% of communication, right?
It is, yeah. I think the numbers they have 7, 38, and 55. So 55% is your body language, and yes, that's great. I have used that before too. When one of my daughters was a teenager, she'd be moping and she'd just kind of put her head down on the counter. And I would say, do you want to feel better? And of course she would say no, because she knew where I was going with this. Come on, put your shoulders back, put your head up and smile. And you just try to be upset. You try to be angry with someone where you're like this, you're smiling. It's really hard to do because you're happy. And your physiology, your body's saying, I should be happy. And it takes you to the victor status, away from the victim. So thank you, Dave. And Cortland, I have to say, I'm looking at your shirt there. You should have gone to the trade show I went to yesterday, because they were giving out business card holders.
Oh, wow.
It's very neat, made in America. It's got a flag on the back. So that fits right in with your shirt. I'm sorry, it just made me think about that. So they knew the target marks they were working with here in Texas.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to say, for me yesterday, I had a downer followed by another downer, but I had to turn it around. I had one of my clients receive a phone call from FDA, and we got to do a 49 product recall, which is pretty for a drug company. And then that was followed immediately by the prank call that said that I had a warrant out for my arrest from the FBI, and I had to take a call. So I took the call, and unfortunately, the guy on the other end that accepted the call couldn't speak English. And, he kept asking me what my name was. And I said, "You got my name. You called me."
Yes.
So I had to have that levity moment to bring me up out of the doldrums of having this client receive such bad news on their last audit. And then I was kind of surprised because of the fact that we had warned them about the situation, and unfortunately they decided to go ahead and move into production rather than doing the right thing, and they got caught.
Yikes. You can call anytime, Cortland. Just give me a shout.
Okay.
So, and I like the fact that you're there supporting them. You could do it all kinds of ways, whether it's through the phone calls. I have somebody, we always text each other things like this. He's having a bad day, you got this. Doesn't take much to bring someone up, make someone smile.
Hey, Mark, one of the things that helps me is to write down my wins, the things that I'm doing right, because and I do this with my clients as well. One of the first things we talk about is what has gone right since the last time I saw you, because I know this is my 5th business, and I can tell you we spend way more time stressing about the things that we did wrong than celebrating the things we did right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just sit down and make that list of the things that you do right, the ways that you're helping people. It can really go a long way to lift you out of that victim mentality, because the victim mentality is easy. It doesn't take much for most people to slide into it. And once you get there, a lot of times it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to slip into, and it's hard to bring yourself out of it. So anything that you can do that just can be really small, like writing your wins down to help you bring yourself out of that victim mentality. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. I like the way you said that, because I did the same. I have a wins list, and it goes back to what Mark said. When you look over that list and you go, I've done some things, so it kind of changes that mental image of, this is rough and it's a rough day, but you know what? Been there, done that. I've had these before and I came out of them before. I can do it again. So thank you for reminding me of that, Chris. You're exactly right. I have that list, but I need to keep it in front of me when you have days like Cortland had. I have those days too. And you need to look at that list regularly. Let me tell you.
That's a great point. I do have a list, and actually I have a screensaver. This is my screensaver, my background, and it's what my pledge at the end of each day. I wake up each day with this, and I end each day, have I earned one more tomorrow by the work I've done today? And so it's another way of just kind of reviewing the day with my wins. What have I done great? And so with that, I'll quit playing with the backgrounds. I've thrown up backgrounds in there. No, that's fantastic. If I could just read a couple comments that were in the chat, because some great comments there. Tricia says, negative thinking can be hard to stop. It's easy to allow yourself to slip into pessimism or to take on an air of indifference. But if you want to attract good things, you must let positive guide you and not the negative. And she has a link in there for a great TED Talk with that. And Tricia also says to bring up your own good energy into the circle and help create a positive synergy that will permeate the group. Look for people who will tell you the truth and will always be honest with you, but never out of spite or with a desire to bring you down. So, yeah, thank you. And does anyone else, I wanted to leave plenty of time just for chat on this. Anyone else have anything along these lines that you'd like to share?
Mark, I don't know if it's a repeat from one of the other sessions, but what you just said, that whole positivity, just the reality check on that. It's not so much about being unwaveringly positive, right? There's the reality of the situation. So, that going below the line, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be positive. You're always going to be upbeat, that you're always going to be, without fail, we're going to make it through this, right? And things will take care of themselves. You do have to, at some stage, recognize the reality, and being positive doesn't necessarily mean being happy about it or being cheerful about it. Being positive and being on the top end is about finding a route through. It may be unpleasant, but to the point of having a win, at the end of the day, some of those unpleasant things, those uncomfortable things, those really, really challenging, the hard things, when you get through, that's when the win comes, right? So it's not necessarily always about being that happy, smiling, cheerful person, but it is about powering through and recognizing that the situation that you have is real. And the book that was written was about who's a prisoner of POW camp. And I think the study was that, those people who just had the blind faith to say, well, this is all going to be fine, and didn't really take into account the reality of the situation they're in, their fatality rate was actually higher. Their mortality rate was higher than those who said, this sucks, this is hard, this is tough, I'm going to make it through. I am positive that I'm going to make it through, and I'm positive that I will overcome this situation. But it wasn't the blind kind of faith that somehow let's just be happy about it and move on, right? So you do have to come to grips with the reality of the situation when it is tough. Right?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that, Dennis.
That's called the Stockdale paradox.
Yeah.
Admiral Stockdale. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that what was the name of that again?
Stockdale.
Yeah, Stockdale.
He was he an admiral, Stockdale?
Yeah, Admiral Stockdale.
And to kind of tack onto what Dennis just said, my sister-in-law passed away last year due to terminal brain cancer, and I asked her, I said, how do you keep going knowing that you're probably not going to make it? And she told me something that was real appropriate. She said, fake it till you make it. And sometimes you got to do that. Dennis made a valid point that the people that did blind faith didn't survive as long, but there's a time and place where you got to say, I'm going to put lipstick on this pig and take it for a walk as far as it'll go, and just have that positive attitude even though I'm not feeling it.
A great, I'll call her a great example that I met as a result of marrying Trisha. Her cousin had Ewing sarcoma for years and years and years, and we went to the rodeo. And I mean, she was close to death multiple times, right? And it would have been really, really easy for her to sink into the, woe is me and stay below the line. But this woman, we're walking to we have a long walk to the rodeo, and she's kind of weak, and she's wearing a wig. And as we get to the line, she says, there's no way I'm staying in line. I'm not standing in line. She says, I'm 6 foot tall, I'm bald, and I have cancer. They're letting me in. And she always had that kind of attitude. Yes, she was in pain. No, she wasn't comfortable being bald. She didn't like being where she was at because she didn't want to be in public. But she turned it around and said, I am playing the cancer card, and I'm getting in. I'm going to the front of the line. And that's kind of words to live by. I mean, this poor woman was dealing with, she was knocking on death's door, but she was going to the damn rodeo, and she's going to play the cancer card. I'm 6 foot tall and I'm bald. I'm playing the cancer card today. That's just really fortunate to meet her. And that's the kind of outlook, right? She was dealing with the situation of, her own reality, but using it to her advantage and playing it through.
Can I use that, Dennis? I'm 6 foot tall and bald.
You're not nearly as cute as my cousin. I'm just saying, Troy.
Just thought I would ask.
I'd like to go back to something that Trisha said earlier, and it really resonated. So she said that she finds herself below the line when she finds herself not in control. And so I would think that many of us, because of the nature of the work that we do, we often find ourselves in that position where trying to meet a client demand, or those sort of things. Because it's interesting. About 2 weeks ago, I gave a similar presentation to a group of about 25 or 26 sales representatives, and when we opened it up for conversation, a lot of it, what's bothering you, what's on your mind, a lot of it was around things that they couldn't control. Quotas, expectation of their clients, expectation of their bosses, and that sort of thing. So maybe a question for the group: when you find yourself not being able to control a temporary situation, how do we respond? How do we work through that lack of control? I'm a firm believer. It's not, figure out what we can control and what we can't, and then focus on the stuff that we can control. But how do others deal with situations where you're out of control, or you aren't in control?
Austin, I've been doing this 6 years now, and the one thing that still gets to me more than anything else is when a client lets me go. And sometimes they let me go for reasons that have nothing to do with me. But it still just really, really bothers me when that happens. You want to talk about sending me down below the line, that'll do it faster than anything. And what I have to remember is it's not about the people that walk away for whatever reason. It's about the people that stay. And those are the people that I can help. And so what I did is I wrote every single client. My wife will tell you, I write on my mirror constantly. I need about 3 more mirrors because I run out of space. But I've written every single client that I have helped in the last 6 months on my mirror. And I read it every morning, every time I go in the bathroom, and every time before I go to bed. And it helps me reset that. I was like, look, yes, that one got away, but I have 8, 10, 12, 15 other people that I have helped to keep their doors open, keep their businesses going, keep their people employed, and just focus on the things that you can control.
Love it.
You can't control everything.
Thanks, Chris. That's great.
I love the mirror analogy, and something I do is I think, am I going to be the thermometer or the thermostat on this one? The thermometer saying, here I'm a victim of the situation, or the thermostat, I'm going to control what I can control. I can't control that this happened, but I can control how I'm going to respond to it and what I can do. I love the mirror analogy, or not analogy, but what you do, Chris. Thank you, Austin. That was a great question. Anyone else? Cortland, how do you respond to that? Oops, I'm sorry, I got you on mute there.
Thank you. Typically, when I lose a client, yeah, absolutely, I go down below the line, and it's very, very tough. But the good Lord always provides another 10 or 15 that week. So I can't cry over spilt milk, but I do get upset that I was unable to help somebody through a situation that they felt that they needed help.
You always hear about people who are poor losers. Just building from what you just said, Cortland, I thought when I was growing up, poor loser, you should never be upset about losing. And my dad corrected me. He said, yeah, you want to be upset about losing. Now, how you respond to that, you don't do a John McEnroe and throw your racket on the court, anything like that. But yeah, you do want to be kind of ticked and kind of motivate you to go do something better, go do something different. But it's not bad. It's not a bad thing to be upset. It's something that happens. It's how you respond to it.
Right. Well, I was going to say, periodically I do throw a John McEnroe, especially if one of my group makes a serious mistake and it brings in either DEA or FDA or OSHA or whoever into the business. And I'm like going, guys, we cannot make those kind of mistakes. Yes, I will throw the John McEnroe at those points, but I try not to, but my inner being comes out, I guess is the best way to put it. And I keep reminding myself that, even Jesus got upset when he went into the temple. So as long as he got upset, I say, Lord, forgive me. You did it. we're good.
Gives you the ability, Cortland, to throw over all the conference room tables and stuff, kind of like Jesus did in the temple. But okay.
I've done that.
I think we all have.
But I think, Austin, to your point, about whether you allow yourself to be stuck below the line or not, right? And what triggers you. For me, it's about the people that I surround myself with. I would much rather sit in this room with you guys than go sit in a room with a bunch of people talking about woe is me, right? I love this group. I love that we're all, even when Mark was giving his presentation, somebody would comment on the negative, but they would give a positive on top of it, right? Even though we were only talking about the bends. Well, it's this, but you could always move here. And that's why I love this group of people. And I think the people that you allow to be in your space also help you manage, as Dennis was talking about earlier, right? Also helps you manage staying above the line.
Great. Thank you.
Well, Tricia, thank you very much. Tremendous comments. Really appreciate everyone's input. Tricia, can you take us home? Maybe get us out a couple minutes early. That's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
It's going to make us feel more positive, right?
Above the
line,
right?
baby. That's where I am.
Yeah. Mark Steele, amazing job today. Thank you so much for presenting that topic with us. Don't forget, all of you, or I'll use the positive language. Remember, the second Thursday of every month from 12 to 1, bring your friends so that you can share these messages with people. We really try to focus on the things that are here and now and top of mind with business owners and things that we can share with each other. Does anyone have like this significant aha moment that you would like to share with us before we break?
I
Mark
do.
Steele.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was just listening to an audiobook, and I think about how we receive compliments. And I was in a local chamber, Colleyville Ambassador of the Month. And so they told me I won that. And of course, the first thing I said was, why me? I'm not worthy. And to do that, that's not a good way to receive a compliment. And you never want to do that, because first of all, I just kind of demotivated a person that gave me a compliment that made me the ambassador and this and that. So that's horrible. What do we usually do when someone pays you a compliment? Trish, you look beautiful today. What would you say?
Oh, thank you. But something's always wrong, right? You say thank you, but, right? I mean, that's our human nature, right? Because we don't want to seem overly confident in ourselves, right?
Yes. And even if you don't say something wrong, you just say thank you. You take it one step further. Thank you is okay, but once again, good is the enemy of great. You say thank you, and you throw that compliment right back at them. That really makes me feel good that you said that. Or Dave, thank you for that compliment. It really means a lot coming from you. And so go beyond thank you and take it back to them, and they're going to feel extra good about paying you a compliment. So I'm trying to be much more conscious and not just say, well, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mark. Does anybody else have a big takeaway?
It's funny you say that, Mark. I saw a video this week, and I don't know if it's current or not. It was of a county sheriff officer. He's sitting in his car, and he's basically apologizing to a young man that had come up and offered to pay for his meal while he was in a drive-through. But he had something going on. He just kind of brushed the kid off, and after he started thinking about it, he was like, I didn't allow the young man to do an act of kindness. I was so involved in what I was doing that I stopped him. And so he was apologizing. He didn't know who he was. He was trying to find him, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how current it is. It was new to me, but the message to me was, it's not just about us. I mean, it is about someone else. And I can remember one time being told someone wanted to give a gift, and they said, well, I'll pay you for it. How much is it? And the guy said, it's like $200. So I can give you 50. It's like, well, no, it's a gift. And if you try and discount that by paying it, you're discounting the gift. Either accept the gift or not. And it's that same concept. And I think oftentimes we forget about things like that. So it's a great point.
No, well, thank you for sharing that. That is a fantastic point. Makes us all feel wonderful. No, really is not. That is a great point. Thank you.
Awesome. Cortland, what was your takeaway today?
Try to stay positive when I get a warrant for my arrest.
Amen.
I would say don't answer those calls anymore, Cortland. They're not coming after you. Oh, good. Well, we
call
appreciate
first, Cortland. They won't call.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Well, you guys, thank you so much for attending this month's mastermind. We're appreciative of everyone participating. Bring your friends next month. We look forward to seeing all of you, and have an amazing afternoon. Mark, thank you again for a great presentation.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, team. Take care.
Sure.
Bye-bye.